Welcome to our inaugural episode of New Motherhood, where we will be talking with a variety of professionals regarding birthing, parenting, and motherhood in the early years. I'm your host, Karen Wood. Today we'll be talking with Rebecca Morris, a birth educator, and Sarah Singler, a force-free dog trainer. So let's start off. Rebecca, if you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do, and just give us a quick introduction, and then we'll move on to Sarah, and then we'll get into some questions.
Okay. So my name is Rebecca. I am a certified childbirth educator. I am also a student doula, and so hoping to complete my doula certification in the next 6 to 9 months. And in another life, I'm also a physical therapist. I think that what has drawn me to, working in kind of the industry surrounding birth and new parenting is that I do feel like our society just really is not giving enough support to new parents in general. I am definitely, have strong feelings about just the prevalence of traumatic birth experiences, and want to be able to get involved in, perhaps a movement that might help to make birth experiences more client-centered, and additionally to just improve overall outcomes for mamas and babies.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for being here. And Sarah, tell us about you.
Hi, Sarah Singler, owner of Florida Canine Dog Training. So I do a lot of baby prep and integration help too, because it is a very fun way to help keep dogs and kids safe together, happy together, all of that. I use positive force-free training. I have a big passion about working with kids too, not just dogs. But of course, dogs are my main jam, just to help them live their best lives in harmony with the big people and little people in their homes and communities.
Awesome. And Sarah, tell us a little bit about, because I think this is important to the conversation. Like some people may come on and go, why is there a dog trainer on a birthing conversation thing, So I think it helps to have a little bit of your background, kind of like, tell us a little bit about your experience with kids. You're kind of from a largish family. I'm trying to remember what your family dynamic was like as a kid. And then I know that you're involved in like teaching Sunday school or something like that. So tell us a little bit about your involvement with kids.
Yes, I used to volunteer with Sunday school with special needs kids, but I also had a job for a while in ABA therapy with kiddos, so applied behavior analysis with little ones too. So definitely very familiar with tools that we can use that are the same line of assent-based, force-free, cooperative. We're not controlling, we're inspiring good choices and building good values with kiddos too. And just aligning that with all of the fun things I do with dogs so that we get really nice, safe interactions, because injuries between kids and dogs and bites, they're always preventable. And it's really a matter of educating the public on how to prevent that so that they can really enjoy each other. Because I love being able to see kids and dogs have fun together and not feel as restricted or separated. So I love to help with that. And yes, the background in ABA with kiddos definitely helps communicating on the kid side of things. And even with infants, it's absolutely a big deal safety-wise to set them up for success, both the way that we're setting up the interactions with kids and dogs in general, but also preparing your dog and giving them the skills they need. So dog training definitely comes into play with introducing a child in the home if you already have dogs, or if you add a dog on after giving birth, excuse me. So absolutely relevant.
Gotcha. I appreciate that. And remind me again, you studied biology or psychology? I couldn't remember.
Biology. Yes.
That's
my degree's in biology from Baylor. I was originally going to go into healthcare and then discovered my passion for behavior specifically with dogs. So.
Awesome. Super. And I'm Karen. I operate Laine Photography, and I specialize in newborn and maternity, though I offer all range of luxury portrait experiences. And I'm the mom of 7 and Grammy to 13. So my passion is really for strong, healthy families healthy kids from the beginning, and especially boosting their stability in their young years, to be confident future members of our society. So my passion for kiddos and birthing is long established, and so this was kind of my dream, to start to do something that would help young moms in their experience of parenting, to help them, support them in their parenting. So, all right, super. So let's kind of jump right in. Sarah, you had said something that struck me about helping a dog become a good dog for kids isn't really about teaching them commands. So tell us a little bit about that. What does help make a dog secure around kids?
Yes, so there's lots of things we can teach that are cues, but the number one priority that I like to focus on is actually something that people typically don't think about at all, because it's not cute. We often think of specifically just, okay, sit down, stay are super important, which they're good and they're important. But teaching regulation is critical. So their ability to regulate through excitement and stress is what will allow them to use all those things that we do teach that are cued skills or other skills that are, more complex. Because if they don't have that ability to regulate or, process that, extra stimuli, that stress or excitement, and then respond appropriately and safely, then they can't think clear enough to use those skills that they've got. If you're too excited, they can't sit, or they can't keep their paws to themselves. And then we've got risk of, baby getting, pushed or stepped on, because they're just so happy. But yeah, if they cannot regulate through excitement and stress, they won't be able to use those cues that they do have. And we won't get their best as far as appropriate interactions and safe interactions. So it's a big component of training. It's what you see really shine with working dogs, service dogs, that ability to really regulate, decompress, respond appropriately. So absolutely, and it is not a cue. So people often overlook that, or they don't know they should even be working on it. But there are lots of things we do that are very specific to baby prep or practice for safe interactions. But that is definitely like the thread underlying it all, is the ability to regulate and respond in all those contexts.
Awesome. I love that. I always think of my dogs as like little fur toddlers. So, I mean, it's kind of like parenting, right? That's part of raising our kids, is teaching them how to manage their emotions and self-regulate. So that kind of tracks. Awesome. So tell me something, why don't you explain a little bit, like, compare and contrast the difference between a dog who doesn't know how to self-regulate and what that looks like, and one that's doing that well?
Yes, absolutely. I also want to add that this is a big part of setting them up for success when we do actually teach them how to regulate, because just like with kids, we aren't born knowing how to do that. It's something we have to kind of develop, and some dogs need a lot more help than others. This is a big part of setting them up for success. You'll see when we talk through this that it's very clear when we've prepared them and they have really nice outcomes versus when we don't. And we're just kind of hoping. So we don't want to use hope as a strategy with safety between dogs and kids. If we've got really good ability to regulate because we've prepared them to succeed nicely, you'll see a dog that can get a little excited or a little stressed. They can choose to communicate clearly with really good body language, which is also a key part of prep on the human side, being able to read that. You'll see them give appropriate warnings if it gets to that point. But typically what you'll see is appropriate disengagement. If they're stressed, they'll walk away. They'll give you body language that they're uncomfortable, walk away, any other good appropriate choice. And you'll see that they're far less bothered by things like baby crying, late night interruptions, being startled, baby toys flying across the room, all the weird new things that are going to become a norm in their life very, very soon when baby arrives or as they get integrated into the household. And you'll see with a dog that hasn't been prepared with those abilities that they're first off not able to use their cues as well around baby. We'll get a lot more excitement and or stress, especially with things like baby crying, late night tantrums, the changes in schedule that come with late night feedings. Often people don't remember or don't realize they should adjust the sleeping arrangement in advance. So that's a big shift for them too. Oh, I'm not sleeping in the bed anymore. I hear them getting up to feed baby. There's just a lot of change going on and a lot of new stimuli, smells, sounds, movements, and all those things can be overwhelming. You can get a dog that does not know how to communicate in a way that they feel is effective if they're not prepped. So we'll get, warning snaps, growls, all of that, which are still good communication. But we don't want them to escalate to the point of any sort of conflict, like full on conflict, contact, any of that. You'll get a dog that is much, much easier stressed over, all the weird new objects in the house, right? Weird new sounds, movements, baby things, those little toys, right? They add up for a lot of dogs that are more sensitive. And especially if they have any underlying behavior issues to start with, you can absolutely get big, big problems if we don't have regulation first. For example, resource guarding is a big one, not just food. If you think of even with milk bottles, stuff like that. I've seen dogs resource guard, spit up rags, anything like that. And if you don't prep them for whatever's going on first, that can be a big problem. And then same thing when it comes to the actual baby. So plenty of dogs will actually resource guard baby from guests, especially if baby is upset, crying. We want to make sure that they're prepped so that anything that's underlying in advance, or even if there aren't any underlying behavior issues first, they need to be able to think through, use their skills, for instance, like down or off, to keep their paws to themselves. Even when baby does something cute and everybody gets excited and is giggly, we still need to keep our feet to ourselves. And a dog that's not prepped with that will not be able to do it reliably, if at all. And again, it's a matter of hope. Some dogs do really well with less prep, because it varies. Different dogs need more or less prep to be able to regulate, to be able to decompress, to be able to use their skills. Some dogs need a lot more guidance. They need a lot more help building value in those calm behaviors that we want to see, because they're unnatural behaviors for a dog. Even if they love your little one and they care about them, they want to protect them, they aren't necessarily going to know how to do that in a way that's safe for them at all times. And for most dogs, the biggest risk is, knocking them over, stepping on them. They don't seek to harm baby, but absolutely, that plays a big part in the ability to either do the things that we want to have safe interactions or not. I want to make sure we're using guidance and building that calm value versus using punishment or correction. When they are too rowdy, we want to set them up for succeed by building those skills first, even if that means lots of breaks and time away from baby while we build those skills until we're safe. Because it's absolutely a matter of prepping them well instead of setting them up to fail. So we also want to make sure that we really avoid force or punishment, because it can create behavior fallout, which is especially dangerous around children who won't be able to read those early warning signs as they get, a little older and they have the chance to. It's our job when they're little, of course, but it's absolutely key to prevent anything else coming about behavior fallout wise. In other words, other behavior consequences we don't want. So while teaching regulation and prepping them, using those sort of positive methods are key as well to getting that good outcome along with regulation skills.
Great. So it sounds like you may have a dog that seems to be well socialized and gets along really well with other people, but until you bring that child into the home, you may not really know what the reaction is going to be. So tell us, when's the best time to have your dog evaluated or start preparation for the baby to come home?
Best time is either like right around the time you're getting pregnant. You've just found out you're pregnant. I've even had people come to me before they plan to get pregnant to really prep their dogs, especially if there's more serious behavior issues at play that we need to address in layers first. But absolutely around the time you get pregnant is ideal. But I've worked with plenty of families, baby is already, over a year old. Absolutely, the sooner the better, so we can help get better results. For most families, you are not going to want to put in that effort after you've given birth. Because
ask me how I know.
Your focus goes to baby. Yes, your focus needs to be on baby. So that's why I try to emphasize, let's get the dog stuff done as much as possible first, because your focus does need to be on baby. I understand that the dog stuff needs to go on the back burner. It's exactly why we want to prepare. So that way you're ready, dog's ready, we're good to go. Same with young pups too. Young puppies can do it too. A little more guidance. And yeah, the more we can prepare in advance, the better, but it's never too late. Never too late. Worked with older kids too. Absolutely never too late.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you for that. I want to move on to Rebecca a little bit and talk about what you had said recently was kind of shocking to me, that 30% of women who have birthed describe their experience as traumatic. And that was just like, wow, really mind blowing. I think about my births, and I mean, I certainly had some rough experiences, but I never thought of them as being traumatic. So I'm interested, kind of, if you could tell us a little bit about Like, why is that, do you think? What's the foundation or the root thing that seems to be the issue? Um, is it medical emergencies, or how they were treated during the birth, or just because they didn't know really what to expect in the birthing experience? What do you think really is the big trigger point there?
I think there's several factors that can be involved with the experience of trauma related to birth. One of them is that people who may have experienced previous trauma in their lives find that when they enter the labor and delivery room, that they're in an extremely vulnerable position. People are, oftentimes vulnerable, intimate parts of their body are exposed, and they may be touched in ways that they're not used to. And for a lot of people, that can be very re-traumatizing. I think most recently, nursing staff and hospital staff, midwives are becoming more aware of the importance of trauma-informed care, because not every patient will tell you that they have been a victim of trauma or abuse. And so I do think that that is important, but that's probably just one component as to why somebody does feel traumatized. I think that the other component is a sense of loss of consent in the medical system. I think that um, people who enter the labor and delivery room oftentimes feel as though their expectations are forced to conform to the procedures and expectations of the hospital and the delivery staff. And for a lot of people, that lack of sense of consent and that lack of collaboration in the medical care can be very traumatizing for them. Additionally, people do face unexpected emergencies in birth. And I know I'm talking a lot about hospitals. Certainly, someone, can experience trauma in any setting. Perhaps if they were planning an out of hospital birth and the unexpected came up and they had to transfer to another facility, that could be a source of trauma. Or even having a plan for how you would imagine birth to go, and perhaps because of unexpected circumstances, you may end up maybe with an unplanned cesarean section. And so I think all of those things can contribute to trauma. And another component as well can be a sense of abandonment. If somebody does not feel like they are around staff who really care about them, and people that Maya Angelou had this phenomenal quote that people forget what you say, they forget what you do, but they will never forget how you make them feel. Our feelings don't lie. And so when someone does not feel as though they are being treated with dignity and care, that that can absolutely create a sense of trauma.
Interesting. I think everyone's perspective, like you were saying, is different. Whatever your preconceived notions are going in, and whatever your experiences in life were before, certainly I can see how that could affect the way you perceive your experience and how traumatic it is for you. That's very fascinating. So tell me, what's the answer? What can we do to drop that percentage and help more moms have a more positive experience?
I don't have the entire answer to that question. I do feel as though I have pieces of the answer. I think that that's what really brought me to kind of the field of childbirth education. When I was pregnant with my first child, I had a friend who experienced a very, very traumatic hospital birth, and so hearing her perspective really impacted me, especially because I was pregnant and I'm thinking, is it going to be like this when I go to a hospital? I do feel as though education is one of the key components, because knowledge is power. And when people are informed about what to expect with labor and delivery, if they know about their range of options in terms of medical interventions, it empowers them to be a collaborative partner in their care, as opposed to just, I'm just doing what the doctors told me to do. But unfortunately, I feel as though education is a huge piece of that puzzle, but I think that there is something very broken about the system of birthing in the United States, because that number shouldn't be this high. And so I don't have all of the answers to that.
Right. I think what you said about education, it made me think, do you think it's helpful when you're expecting and planning a birthing experience, making your birthing plan, to talk to as many moms who have already experienced birth and kind of see what their perspective on how things were? Do you think that's helpful, just for them to hear those other case studies, so to speak?
I do, but not everyone would agree with me, because I think there are some people who really want to. I took a hypnobirthing class during my pregnancy, and I was actually in the training. They talk about avoiding other people's birth stories because you might be exposed to a negative birth story, which could increase your anxiety.
Right.
And so I can understand that perspective, that you don't, especially because the way birth is portrayed in the media, it's portrayed as something that's awful and torturous that you just have to go through. And so I think we need to be mindful about how that depiction can impact somebody's, framing of of their experience, if you're going to listen to someone. But I do think it's important to understand. I think case studies are important in the sense of being educated on all of the different things that can happen during labor and delivery and postpartum. For example, I imagined after I delivered my son that I knew I wanted to breastfeed, and I just imagined, I took a breastfeeding class, that baby was going to latch. It would tell me, the latching would stimulate my milk production, and it would just all flow out like Mother Earth. And that did not happen. And in fact, about 15% of people who deliver do have to supplement their milk before they leave the hospital. And so I think, had I been prepared for that possibility, I would not have felt quite so stigmatized and disappointed for what was going to happen.
What's the one thing that you would tell every expectant mom to be sure and do to help hedge her bets for best case scenario delivery?
I would do a lot of research on the location or facility where you intend to give birth. You could love your OB, but it doesn't mean you're going to love the facility where they have privileges. And so I would use resources such as Leapfrog, where you can check the cesarean rate for first time single birth moms who have their baby in an optimal position. Additionally, I would research carefully the benefits and risks of out of hospital births, because there's both. There are a lot of people that have births outside the hospital setting and describe it as just a beautiful, wonderful experience. But there certainly are risks that you may end up with a hospital transfer, and that can add stress to your experience if you're having to transfer. And there's medical risks as well if complications are to develop. And so knowing what those risks are, so that you can really make an informed choice in terms of what kind of birth experience you would like to have.
Awesome. That's very helpful. Well, ladies, I've enjoyed the conversation, and I thank you for jumping in with us and talking a little bit about this. And again, we just want to help our community and connect with people and help them have the best experience, not just birthing, but raising those kiddos and growing their families. So I appreciate y'all being here. I just want to throw in a tag, a little plug for our event on August 25th. You can find the information on my website at KarenLaine.com. If you'll go to the About tab and scroll down to New Motherhood, the mini conference, you can get information there. But we're going to be gathering a bunch of other professionals in addition to Sarah and Rebecca. And we're going to throw you guys a baby shower and have a lot of fun, play some games, have some prizes and some treats, and have lots of great conversations about a wide variety of topics to support you in your parenting journey. So we hope to see you there. And thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Karen.
Thanks. Y'all have a good day.
Thanks. You too.
Okay, you too.
Bye.